What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Goods. Today we got Week 9 injuries and waiver wire pickups coming up right after this intro. What's up, everybody? Like I said, welcome back to the Fantasy Goods. I'm Ben Barsolona. This is Joshua Lipinski. This is Adam Dobies, and we are the Fantasy Goods. So Week 8 was pretty interesting. A couple more injuries, and let's break it down for you right now. Josh, you want to start it off with the injuries?
Yeah, I'm going to do some quick mention, guys. Just got a couple of guys that are still on the injury report from previous weeks. Nick Chubb, Raheem Mostert, Austin Eckler, Zach Ertz, all still on IR. You got Kenyon Drake and Deebo Samuel still out. And you got Christian McCaffrey, possible to come back this week. Like I told you last week, he might have played on Thursday, but I think because it was an early game, they played it on the safe side and sat him. He should be back this week. Chris Godwin, possibly back for Week 9, coming off that finger surgery to repair his broken index finger, but you're going to have to monitor that for the week. Aaron Jones, still questionable. Miles Sanders, still questionable. Michael Thomas, still questionable. Chris Carson, still questionable, dealing with a foot injury. And then for our COVID list, I'm going to give you Emmanuel Sanders. Could come back this week if he gets those 2 consecutive negative tests. And 2 new players, now the Green Bay Packers running backs, Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon, both tested positive for COVID-19 and will be out this week, so make sure that you pay attention to what we got coming up for you in the waiver claims. Adam, why don't you go into some of the bigger injuries that happened this week?
All right, so I'll get into some big names that went down this week. George Kittle, sorry fantasy owners, he is going to be out for the remainder of the fantasy season, 8 weeks. That's it for fantasy. He's down with that broken foot. It's not happening. Possibly looking to picking up Jordan Reed or Ross Dwelly as a replacement for him. That is if Reed comes off the IR, as expected. Now, San Francisco plagued by injuries. Tevin Coleman is also down. Knee injury again. You could get Hastings or McKinnon off that wire. Hopefully none of them are taken yet, and they should be able to help you out. Another one, Galladay, down with hip and a lingering hamstring injury. He's questionable return. Amendola should be out there on the waiver wires, especially in deeper leagues. Pick him up. He's going to see an increase in targets. T.Y. Hilton, down with a groin injury. He is out for a couple weeks. Look to Pittman and Pascal to pick up the other targets if he was getting any. What is sharing 2 now between them? We'll go to Darrell Henderson. He suffered a thigh injury this week. He is going into a bye. Look towards Cam Akers as a possible replacement if he does not return Week 10. Giants, Devonta Freeman, as if they couldn't have any more bad news. He goes down with an ankle injury. He's questionable return. Gallman would be the guy to go to in that pickup. I'm sure he's still out there. No one really wanted to hold on to him that long. And while we were filming this, Myles Gaskins goes down with an MCL sprain, confirmed.
Go figure.
He is going to be out. Look to Breeder or Jordan Howard to be the replacements. It could go either way, to be honest, with those two. Kind of just keep your eye on both of them.
Yeah, he's like that one bright spot on that fish roster.
I hate the fish. I hate him. All right, so that does it for the big injuries coming off of Week 8. Hopefully you can survive going into the playoffs coming up soon. Hopefully you make it. Good luck.
Yeah, now we're going to get into waiver wire pickups for Week 9. And don't worry, guys, the doctor is here. We got some names for you. All right, I'm going to go first. And my first waiver wire pickup is going to be wide receiver Darnell Mooney of the Chicago Bears. This guy is coming out of the woodworks. He caught 5 out of 6 targets on Sunday for 69 yards and a touchdown. The last 6 weeks of the season, he has been targeted 5 or more times. 5 or more. And he's still on the waiver wire right now. And believe it or not, that's more consistent than some of the big names that we have here. Like Mike Evans, Dante Johnson, and Darius Slayton. You know, he's been more consistent than all of them. Look at the stats. And now with a somewhat breakout game, he should take advantage of those targets, especially with all eyes on Allen Robinson. So I could definitely see him taking advantage of that. And believe it or not, he's only owned by 6% of fantasy leagues right now. And definitely someone to scoop, especially with a great matchup against the Tennessee Titans, who we can definitely take advantage of. Josh, you want to talk about our next waiver wire pickup?
Yeah, I got a little sneaky one for you here, guys. At quarterback, with bye weeks and all, if your quarterback waiver wire is picked clean, you can look into this guy. He's owned in 10% of fantasy leagues right now in Yahoo. Drew Lock, the quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Now, I know you're going to roll your eyes at me, but the guy's been hurt for most of the season.
We literally just did that. We both just rolled our eyes.
You can roll your eyes at me, but I'm telling you right now, he finally had a breath of life last week going against the LA Chargers, winning in the last play of the game. He put up 25.82 fantasy points. He could finally have all of his weapons back healthy this week, which is a big part why I like him. And the biggest part I like him, especially going into this week, is Atlanta. He's playing Atlanta, the number one matchup for quarterbacks. Now, Atlanta, their defense is so bad and have allowed such good quarterback play, they've allowed 30-point average to every quarterback. And let's just go down the list here. Russell Wilson, week 1, 39 points. Dak, 41 points. Trubisky, 13, but then Foles came in for the second half and put up 23. Rodgers, 37. Bridgewater, 24. Cousins, 29. And Matthew Stafford, 20. And then Bridgewater put up 14 points last week, even though he got that dirty hit that knocked him out. So, I mean, they just let quarterbacks go off on them in Atlanta, and I don't see it any different here. I think Drew Lock is going to have another 25-point game in a shootout against Matt Ryan. So I go and get him, especially since his next 3 matchups are pretty friendly too, against Las Vegas, Miami, and New Orleans. So go and get Drew Lock for yourself this week, guys. I think he's a smart play.
I'm going to have a pickup for you. Did you have George Kittle on your team? Is your tight end dwindling? There's nothing else out there but this guy, Logan Thomas, on the Washington football team. I can't believe I'm saying to pick someone on the Washington football team up. But this man put up 16 points in PPR against Dallas. I know it's Dallas, and anyone can do that, at least these days.
Yeah.
But 4 receptions, 60 yards, and a touchdown. He is the number 2 pass catcher on Washington. He will get you those low-end tight end 1 points.
He's been putting up points.
And next week he's going against the Giants defense too. I could see him doing the same kind of game.
Good, man.
Yeah.
So the next guy I'm going to talk about is on the Green Bay Packers, running back Tyler Irving, with Aaron Jones questionable to play, and Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon both have COVID-19. This has Green Bay running back fantasy owners scratching their heads. They're basically in the same situation as the 49ers. You know?
Where they're just decimated by injuries. But now it's COVID.
Yeah, it's COVID. But for fantasy players in PPR formats, I would say pick up Tyler Irving. Okay, he's only owned in 1% of fantasy leagues right now. 1%.
I'm not 1%.
You can go get him.
You can go get him. You know, and he's going to provide good fantasy points because he's a pass catching back. You know, he could definitely have a spark this game.
His volume's going to go through the roof.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no one else there.
Nope.
No one else there. On Sunday, Tyler Irving was getting some of those pass-catching opportunities. There was 3 targets for 1 reception, 7 yards, which isn't really much. But all 3 of the starting running backs are gone now, so you can definitely see that picking up. You know, so he's definitely someone to target on the waiver wire, especially if you have Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, or A.J. Dillon. You know, I would definitely scoop him up, and I would say start him as a flex.
Yeah.
No, hands down. I would definitely take that chance. So, Josh, what's our next guy that we're going to talk about?
All right, I got a running back for you guys on Indy. Jordan Wilkins, who's owned in 3% of leagues in Yahoo right now. You got Jordan Taylor there, but he's supposedly dealing with a bit of an ankle injury, which is what the head coach said. But that just sounds like a head coach trying to cover his tracks. I think it might be a little more serious than a bit. So I'm expecting Jonathan Taylor to miss this week at least. And while Jonathan Taylor was out last week, they put in Jordan Wilkins, and he had 20 carries for 89 yards and a touchdown, totaling 20.3 fantasy points. So I could definitely see his usage on early downs being increased with Taylor being out. I know Naheem Hines has that passing down back role locked up. He also had a good week last week, but I'm definitely going to want to pick up Jordan Wilkins this week and follow that volume, see if he can get you some points if you're in a squeeze for a running back this week, and I'll play him in my flex.
All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up today for Week 9, injuries and waiver wire pickups. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Show us some love. We'll show some back, especially this guy. He loves showing love. Yeah. So next time, we are the Fantasy Goods, and we got the goods.